Hello everybody. Till now we have discussed about the importance of various types of transformers and its application. And then we have talked about the construction of a transformer where we have talked about core type and shell type of transformers. And then we have talked about the working principle of a transformer where we have talked about like how the voltage is induced in the secondary winding of the transformer based on the Faraday's law. Then we have talked about the ideal transformer where we laid four conditions on an ideal transformer, that the permeability is infinite, the permeability of the core is infinite, and the core has like zero eddy current losses and hysteresis losses, or no eddy current and hysteresis losses, and the windings has zero resistance, and there is no leakage flux there. Whatever the flux produced by one winding, that flux is actually linking the other winding. No flux leaks out of the core. And then we have talked about the phasor diagram of an ideal transformer. So today we will discuss about how to represent an ideal transformer, and then we will talk about the dot convention and its importance, and then we will talk about the impedance transformation using a transformer, and then we will take up one problem to highlight the importance of using a transformer in a power system, where we would be using or we would be applying various expressions till now which we have got here. So the ideal transformer is generally represented by a winding. So the ideal transformer is represented by a winding on a uh, winding for a primary side and winding for the secondary side. So let's say the transformation ratio is A is to 1, and we mark the dot here. So this is, let's say, the primary current and this is the secondary current here. And we represent the cores, ferromagnetic cores, by these two straight lines between the winding. So that means there is a magnetic coupling between these two winding through a ferromagnetic core there. Okay. So if this is the primary voltage here, applied primary voltage. So here we have the induced voltage there, the secondary voltage V2 there. Okay. So this is the representation of an ideal transformer. Now this dot, actually this dot considers the, like, let's say the transformer. In a transformer, the direction of the induced EMF will actually decided by how we have wound on on the transformer, how we have done the winding on the transformer, right? Just consider this case that, let's say, the winding here has been started from this side. Okay, from the front it will go in the back side, and from the back side it will come here, and again it will go in the back side. Okay, let's say current is entering here. Okay, so if you see the flux here, the flux line will actually come out of it. It would be in this direction, right? So if current is increasing in this direction, this flux would also be increasing in this direction, right? Now think of the same core limb, but this time what I am doing is the winding has started from the back side of it. So it will come here, again it will come here. So you can think of that current is coming in this direction now, right? Now if current is coming in this direction, this time the flux would be increasing in this direction. Okay, if IT was increasing in this direction, the flux phi t would be increasing direction. So how we have wound on the limbs of the transformer, how we have started the winding of the transformer, that actually decides how the EMF would be induced, right? So, but in a real transformer, we cannot open the transformer every time and see how the winding has been done. So, there should be some means to represent it and like how the winding has been done, because what I'm saying is in an AC circuit, in an application where we need to know the polarities, like how the EMF would be induced there. Okay, for that we represent the dots here. So representation of dot means at the dot end. So so at the dot end there are two conventions, like there are two inferences of it. So at the dot end, so at the dot end, dotted end, if let's say at the dotted end of primary side, so for primary I would be using 1 degree. This will stand for primary, and for secondary I would be using 2 degree. This will mean that this is secondary. Okay, so at the dotted end of the primary side, if voltage is positive at the dotted end, then at the secondary and at the secondary side, so at the dotted end, positive voltage would be induced. Second is, if current enters, so this primary side is one of the side, you can say. So either of the side, if positive is here in the, let's say if the positive is here on the in this side, so so the positive voltage would be induced in the primary side as well, or either way, right? So if the current enters at the dotted end of one side, then from the other dotted end the current will leave. Okay, so if in this at the dotted end, if the current is entering, then from the other dotted end the current will leave, or the vice versa. If current enters here, so in the dotted end the current will exit from here. Okay, so let's say I have a transformer here, an ideal transformer, whose turn ratio is 1:2. Okay, and the dots are here. Okay, so let's say these two transformers has been energized by a AC source here, and this RMS value of this is, let's say, 100 volt here. So I have connected this second transformer here on these dots. So how much voltage would be generated here on the secondary side? So it is a 1:2 transformer. So V1 is 100. Okay, so what would be V2 here? Let's say this is your V1 here and this is V2. So only V1 here, V1 dash and V2 dash. So V1 is equal to 100 is equal to V1 dash. Okay, so what is V2 here and V2 dash here? So obviously V2 would be, so V1 by V2 is actually N1 by N2, and here the ratio of N1 by N2 has been given by 1 by 2, 1:2. So this is V2. So V2 would be 2 times of V1, which is 200 volt here. Similarly V2 dash 200 volt here. Now just see, if I have a voltmeter here, and with this voltmeter And what kind of arrangement I have done here is, let's say these two terminals has been connected here, and with this voltmeter I am measuring at these 2 points. I have connected between these 2 points. Okay, so obviously this voltmeter will now read me. So this voltmeter will now read me 400 volts. V resultant would be 200 volt plus 200 volt. So this voltage is being generated in this direction, and here it is in this direction. So these two voltage will get added up, and this voltmeter will read me this 200 volt now. Okay. Now same transformer arrangement at the primary side, but but what I am doing is, instead of having these connections, this time what I am doing is, this end has been connected here, and the voltmeter is connected here. It's a voltmeter is connected here. So now this voltmeter, what this voltmeter will read actually. Okay. Now you can see that this voltmeter will actually read these potential difference here. So here it is 200 volt in this direction, and here also, because this is the common point. So this is the common point, right? So they are at the same potential now. So this is, so in this direction it is 200 volt now, right? So this terminal is actually reading 200 volt, and this terminal is also reading 200 volt. Okay, with this common point here. So now this VR would be 0 volt, and we will show it one of the experiment performed in our lab there. Okay, the resultant voltage would be 0. Okay. First, this circuit connection was used, and two identical transformer, 1:2 transformer were used, and at the input of it 100 volt supply was given, and output of it, instead of using a voltmeter, I have used two bulbs to show that that bulb is glowing. Okay, and with a multimeter I am individually measuring the voltages. So here you can see that 100 volt supply has been given at the input, and you can see 186 volt is appearing at one of the transformer end, and another for other transformer 200 volt is appearing, and the bulb is glowing. That means this is as per the first circuit connection, and combined you can see around 384 volt is appearing. Okay, now this is the second connection. So in the second connection, at the secondary of it, I have modified the connection, and now we will observe the voltages there. So you can see that the bulb is not glowing now. Okay, and the combined voltage also is around 1 point something. Now individually transformer voltage is still there, 199 and 199 voltage of transformer was there. Now we will discuss about the impedance transformation. So how do we define an impedance? Okay, let's say so this impedance ZL is drawing some current, let's say IL, and the voltage appearing across this impedance is, let's say, VL. Okay, so what we say is this ZL would be actually VL by IL. So if I don't know ZL, then just by observing the voltage across this impedance and the current which is coming into it, by measuring the current into this impedance, and if I divide it, we can directly say that it would be this ZL would be equal to VL by IL. Okay, so that is the definition of a impedance, right? Or that's how we find an impedance. So let's say, so this is how we represent our impedance, right? Uh, Representation of an impedance. Okay, so let's say with this background we have this ideal transformer. So in this ideal transformer, at the secondary of it, some impedance has been connected or some load has been connected. Let's say that ZL is the impedance of that load is ZL. So obviously this ZL would be given by, let's say the secondary voltage is V2 or the terminal voltage is V2 here, would be V2 by, and current which this impedance or with this current which this load is drawing from this secondary of it is actually I2. Okay, is V2 by I2. So obviously once, let's say this has the primary has been energized by a AC source whose impedance whose magnitude is V1, let's say. So though there is no impedance or no load connected at the primary side, but since we have connected the load at the secondary side, so this load is actually, we have discussed before as well, so this load is actually compelling the source to provide the equivalent amount of current uh, equivalent amount of current from the primary side. Because of the impedance connected or because of the load connected at the secondary side, the primary side is also observing some impedance, right? So let's say that impedance at the primary side, I said, let's say that impedance is ZL dash. So ZL dash is the impedance observed at the primary side. So ZL dash is the impedance observed at the primary side. So this can be given as, this ZL dash can be given as V1 by I1, right? Because there is some voltage there and there is some current. So if I have this this V1 divided by I1, so that will give me the impedance observed at the primary side. But we know that V1 by V2 is actually N1 by N2, which I have defined as A here. Okay, so this implies that V1 is A times of V2. And what about I1 by I2? This is 1 by A or N2 by N1, right? N2 by N1, which is 1 by A here. Okay, so this I1 is actually I2 by A. Okay, so putting these values here, this ZL dash can be written as A times of V2 upon I2 by A. So this ZL dash is actually A square times of V2 by I2, which is A square times of ZL. Okay, so if ZL we have defined as V2 by I2, so ZL dash, yani the impedance which is observed at the primary side is A square times the ZL. Okay, so this ZL dash is A square times ZL. So the secondary impedance refer to the primary side. What we can write is ZL dash is A square times ZL. So the ZL dash is actually would be given by the turn square of the turn ratio A square times the ZL. Okay, so ZL is the impedance which was there at the secondary side, and if I want to refer it, if I want to bring it to at the primary side, then I have to multiply it by the square of the turn ratio there, okay, or the transformation ratio. So and that will give me the impedance which the primary side is observing. So if I want to represent it, let's say if I want to represent it, then this voltage V1 is, if I am showing that V1 voltage is there, that then that impedance which this primary side would be observed will observe ZL dash would be actually A square times of ZL. So this impedance will actually force the current to come out of it. Okay, so what that current would be, let's say that current is I1 dash or I1, so that current would be obviously V1 by this impedance ZL dash, right, or A square times ZL. Okay, so this is, if you will see, if you cross check it, so this is V1 upon A square into ZL. We have already said that this is V2 by I2. Okay, so V1 by V2 is A upon A square into I2 here, which is I2 by A, right? So here the current would be I2 by A. Okay, so I1 would be I2 by A, which we see that if you transfer the current from the secondary side toward the primary side, then it will come out to be I2 by A, right? Okay, this is just to cross verify like our impedances are correct or not. So one thing is, for a step up transformer, what we have said is A is less than 1. So if A is less than 1, so whatever the impedance is there, so A squared would also be less than 1. So if that is less than 1, so impedance observed at the primary side for a step up transformer would be lower, right? Would be lower. So now we will take up one problem and we'll apply these concepts which we have developed till now.